Hello, everyone. Good day to where you are. This is Angelo Lorenzo once again, and with me right now is a very special person because she's one of the Philippine-American achievers who are advocating for Philippine literature in this day and age. Um, with me now is our guest, Keana Aguila Labra. She is a Philippine-American author of two chapbooks, namely Natalie and No Saints, respectively published by Nightingale and Sparrow, and No Saints is published by Lazy Adventure Publishing. Currently, she is the editor and also the co-founder of Marias and Sampaguitas online magazine, and she has written a lot of literary pieces poignant about Philippine narratives and the diasporic experiences of Filipinos living abroad. So Kiana, thank you very much for being in this show in my vlog. So yeah,
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
I'm excited too. Thank you very much. So jumping on the first question is, how does Philippine literature in your opinion remain relevant in this day and age?
I think that we both, as diaspora Filipinos and mainland Filipinos, we
Yeah.
have to make it relevant ourselves because as much as there's a lot of, um, push for diversity, publishing and
Mhm.
literature is still very white.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of the times, authors, there's this boundary that we have to kind of balance between are we pandering to white audiences or,
Mm-hmm.
is our truth too authentic or, too Filipino, too oriental for
Mm-hmm.
them, that's palatable for them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I
Right.
think we have to give ourselves that validation to ourselves because
Mm-hmm.
we don't need their approval. We shouldn't want their approval because our voices are just as deserving as theirs.
Right. Yeah, that's amazing. That's very timely because these days there are a lot of racial issues springing up, and there are plenty of dialogues that um uh include that narrative. And then it's very relevant because literature is there to represent a certain community, right? And
Exactly.
what I like to point out is that you're one of the I should say pioneers or one of the advocates of that advocacy of that cause to represent authentic Philippine literature in in the narrative of diasporic experiences, and also that can also be relatable for Filipinos living abroad and also Filipinos in the mainland. And my second question is, as you are the editor of the inclusive Philippine-themed online magazine, Marias and Sampaguitas, would you be open to share how the magazine started?
Oh, it actually was really recently. So just only 2 years ago did I
Mm-hmm.
feel confident and comfortable enough to submit my own poetry.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really inspired by because I'm here in the States, right? So
Right.
there's a lot of black led magazines that I really
Mm-hmm.
took inspiration from, like the Hellbore, Royal Rose
Right.
magazine,
Paya.
Dream Noir.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Paya, yeah.
So I thought um, I could start something for our people too.
Right.
Um, but I didn't want to keep the doors closed because here, actually, where I am in California, there's Maganda magazine that's
Oh,
strictly
okay.
for Filipino, strictly
That's
for
amazing.
Filipino.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're awesome, and I took inspiration from them too. But I kind of wanted Marias to be a safe space, for all of our voices, under resourced, underrepresented, you know, again, because literature is still very cisgender, still very
Yeah.
heteronormative,
Mm-hmm.
still very white.
Mm-hmm.
So to have this space, for us, whether whichever categories that we fall into, we deserve that space, to share our words because they're important too.
That's amazing, and thank you very much for that initiative because it's like what you mentioned earlier. There's Maganda magazine, and then currently there's also Marias and Sampaguitas, and I think that with you starting that hard work to fully represent and the inclusive narratives of Philippine, and not just Philippine but also writers of color, you are giving space to um, a lot of people that have either been misrepresented in the past or have either been excluded from the mainstream media that we usually consume, right? So yeah, that's amazing. So going on to your first chapbook, you've written about a very I should I say tragic or a poignant narrative about this subject. So your first chapbook, Natalie, published by Nightingale and Sparrow, includes poems that evoke the themes of grief and loss. What was the major influence of that chapbook?
So Natalie's actually a real person. Rest
Oh,
in peace,
okay.
Natalie Nguyen. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and it's that experience just really, um, I want to say, haunted me
Yeah.
because you go to university, you graduate, and then sometimes you grow apart
Mm-hmm.
from people. And in that time that she had moved from our hometown, moved away, we stopped contacting each other. 2 years later, I found out that she passed away from suicide. And
Oh no, that's so bad.
yeah, so it that just really, I don't want to say triggered, but it was just a very stark realization of, I love her. Like, I loved her
Yeah.
even though we didn't talk for that time.
Mm-hmm.
And um it was difficult to talk about her passing to some of my family because they, you know, still a little bit conservative Filipino, right? They're not very understanding of the transgender experience.
Yeah.
So I wanted to both express that grief and honor her at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, because I'm sure everyone can kind of relate to this. Like, just having the memory sometimes doesn't feel like it's enough. Like, we
Mm-hmm.
want to show these people that are now gone, like, that we love them and we will remember them.
Right.
And that they're never really gone as long as we keep them in our hearts.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to keep her in my heart with that chapbook, and just have her know wherever she is, whatever belief system that she ended up keeping with her before she passed, in whatever afterlife, that I still love her and that there are people here that still care about her. And
Right.
I felt like a lot of people could relate to that, that heartbreak and that sense of a lost love.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm really sorry about what happened. I could really offer my condolences and sympathies because I'm sure that Natalie, um, she is also a very special person and also a very important one. And had she lived through this day, she would be an inspiration to many members of the transgender community and to the trans community in general. So, related to that question, Kiana, you mentioned about the trans community. So you also the description of the chapbook mentioned also that the profits of Natalie um, have been donated to the Trans Lifeline. And for our viewers, Trans Lifeline is a non-government organization sponsored and organized by trans people for the emotional and financial support for trans people. How are you as a Philippine American? Um, how are you? How do you fit with that narrative to relate the Philippine American experience with the trans community?
uh, I think the biggest parallel will be, you know and I do want to say that as a diaspora Filipino, for whether Phil can, Phil us, we should not base our politics or thinking solely around representation or identity. I know that's a
Right.
big issue with us, that we just focus on, who am I on the inside, instead of, bigger issues where we can help our mainland kaibigan, kasamas. So
Mm-hmm.
I just want to, asterisk disclaimer that I know that that shouldn't be our main goal, representation and identity.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like the parallel between diaspora Filipinos and the trans community could be the sense of, you know, not knowing where you belong. Because,
Right.
and again, I can't speak for on behalf of the trans community, but from what
Right.
I've, you know,
Mm-hmm.
seen on social media is that even trans folks don't
Mm-hmm.
feel welcome in the LGBTQ community, which has, you know,
Mm-hmm.
the T in
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So I
Mm-hmm.
feel like that would be the biggest parallel.
Right. It's so sad because I think that was 3 years ago or 2 years ago, there was actually a trans woman who was murdered by a U.S. Navy soldier. I'm not sure if the
Jennifer
Philippine
Laude.
American.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, Jennifer Laude. And since that issue happened, there have been a lot of dialogues about the causes or the experiences that are being like experienced by the trans community, the exclusivity, the bullying, and it's very important that we collectively take action to support them because um, they are human beings after all, regardless of identity, regardless of labels or preference or whatever identities or identities that we name ourselves. We are human beings, and as long as we are like alive and conscious, uh, we are important people. So yeah, that's it. And I would like to
Exactly.
thank you very much because from what you did, you're using your creativity, you're using your passion to support and to yeah, to donate to the Trans Life organization. So that's very noble. So yeah. Let's talk about your recent book. Congratulations for that, No
Thank
Saints.
you.
So your latest chapbook, No Saints, published by the Lazy Adventure Publishing, delves more into the Philippine, uh, Filipino, or should I say also Philippine X narrative through poems and short fiction. What are the common challenges that Philippine X or like Filipino Americans encounter in the United States today?
Uh, I think for me, my narrative mostly speaks to um, like being the eldest daughter, because how
Mm-hmm.
I arranged the chapbook, um, I used the Cebuano numbering in
Oh, that's
honor of
great.
my Lula Josie. Yeah, so Usa is for my Lula Josie, and then Duha is for
Okay.
my Nanay,
Mm-mm.
and then Tulo and Upat are parts of me. At least that's what I intended. Of course, open to interpretation now that it's out in the world. Um, and um, and again, this is just like my personal journey, realizing, you know, my identities not only as a Filipino but also a Cebuano
Mhm.
too,
Right.
because with it, even I'm not sure how it is in the mainland, but within the diaspora communities, it's very Tagalog. There's like a high Tagalog supremacy where
Mm-hmm.
even folks who aren't Tagalog at all are more encouraged to learn Tagalog than they are, you know, their
Right.
native tongues, whether it's Ilocano,
Mm-hmm.
Cebuano, Bicolano.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I really hope that if readers decide to pick up No Saints, that they see it through like a tri lens, being
Mm-hmm.
like Tagalog, Cebuano, and then being an American diaspora Filipino who,
Right.
again, a lot of Phil-Ams don't even really align with being American because of imperialism and because we're starting to realize, you know, the terrible effects of colonialism and
Right.
imperialism that our country is imposing on others. You
Right.
know, we
Right.
have to reckon with that too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, so it's really personal, and again, everyone's experience is different.
Yeah.
So I hope that this speaks to not only just daughters, but maybe sons as well, and maybe it will reach another Cebuano who will be like, "Oh my gosh, I couldn't," you know,
Yeah.
like I just hope it people resonate with that feeling.
I would definitely resonate with it because well, it's it's written by a Filipino Filipinx or Filipino American author, and then you integrated a lot of Philippine narratives based on your personal experience, right? And as a Cebuana Filipina, you speak a different language from the Tagalog folk people, or like a Tagalog group. And in the Philippines, we have a lot of like different languages, so it's not just like Tagalog. And I can agree with you when when you said that there is too much focus on Tagalog, uh, the Tagalog culture and the language, and most Filipinos are really required to speak. So yeah, I can relate to that, because in the Philippines, the education system, our Philippine subjects are also written in Tagalog. So we had no choice but to speak Tagalog. For me, I also speak Bisaya because it's my first language. So yeah, I can
Oh,
we can relate with each other. Yay!
yay!
So yeah, I think that book is really great because you applied the language, and also it can resonate with Filipino American community who are not necessarily native Tagalog speakers, but also probably Cebuano speakers, and also Bisaya speakers. So as well. That's great. So I heard rave reviews also on Goodreads about your chapbook. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Yeah, you deserve it because you're a talented writer also. So uh lastly, Kiana, what is your message to Filipino writers and artists residing both in the States or anywhere who are living abroad, or and also those in the mainland?
Tell your truth, because again, everyone has a different experience. Like you mentioned, everyone has different languages, different cultural backgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't tell your truth, maybe I won't learn about it, because I can only speak for myself. You can only speak for yourself too. You're a writer as well.
Yeah.
So if I want to learn about my kasamas, you should write. So I always want to encourage Filipino folks, whether diaspora or on the mainland. Um, I am open to you as a resource if you have any questions, or
That's
if you want
great.
to just talk about how to start getting published, or if you want to send your work to us too. I just want to be able to read and hear everyone's voices again, so that it's no longer just a focus on Tagalog, or it's not only a focus on cisgender or heteronormative Filipinos. Everyone, I want everyone to tell their truth, so we can learn and just empathize with each
Mm-hmm.
other, because like you
Right.
said, we're all humans.
Yeah. And thank you for being part of advocating for that reality that everyone deserves everyone deserves a space or a chance to speak out or to share their truth. So that's amazing. So at this point, would you like to share one of your most favorite recent most favorite poems, probably any personal poems that you have published or haven't published, or any piece that you have written?
Okay.
Thank you, Kiana.
Of course, salamat kaayo. Thank you.
Salamat.
um, this is, well, pasensya to my nanay, because my nanay is Tagalog,
Aw.
but the poem I want to read is titled Cebuana.
Oh, that's
Um,
amazing.
it's in No Saints, so
Oh,
pasensya if
great.
you've already read it. But
No, it's okay. I
um,
mean, it's gonna
okay,
be full of impact because it's yours.
okay. So this is Cebuana. My lips fail the mothers before me. Scene 1. My Lola, with her sisters, shriek with laughter. Bisaya, Bisaya, Binasaya, or Cebuano, decides against settling. It leaves. My ears strain, and the words evade understanding. Scene 1.5. My Lula's smile is wider than I've ever seen in Tagalog or English. I bring my cousin to a convention. Scene 2. He needs to tell me a secret, pero maraming mga puti. I say, you can tell me in Tagalog, naintindi ako. He purses his lips. English is where we meet in the middle. Scene 3. At the Radisson Blu in Cebu City, I walk to the mall to purchase squid flakes for my partner's mother. I cross the street, walk to the mall alone. The salesman doesn't bother either, chasing after me with his pamphlet. I refuse to turn around. I long to hear the word so familiar to Lula, but he, ready for the Americana. Ma'am? 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 Scene 4. Back home, back in San Jose, I am determined to learn, if not for myself, for my Lola and her Lolas, for my future anak. I text her, Gihigugma kita. Scene 5. Lola texts back, Gihigugma ko kayo mga apo na guwapo at guwapa. I try again, ask for help, and I will do so until my ears are worthy of being called home. Maayong buntag, we say hello to possibility.
Wow, that's very nice. Was that based
Thank you.
on a personal experience? I mean, a memory?
Yes, actually,
Oh,
this
that's
all
great.
happened when I was back in the Philippines a year ago
Wow.
now. Doesn't
Mm.
even, time has been going so slowly because of the pandemic, but I was there back in October 2019.
Oh, that's great. That's great. I can really feel the close family ties in the poem, and which is very common among Filipinos.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you very much, Kiana. Do you have any announcements or like a book announcements or Marias and Sampaguitas events or anything that you want to share?
Our Mahal issue is still in the works. I
Oh,
know
that's
that
great.
earpiece is in Mahal, so I'm
Thank you very
excited.
much. Memories on the riverside. Yeah.
Yes. So Kate Hizon, she's still working on edits. She's in university right now, so we're thinking still a January 2021 release. I
Oh,
will
that's great.
email all of you with
Oh, thank
updates.
you.
But general submissions reopen January 2nd,
Oh, that's
2021.
great.
Open to all groups. So that's it for Marias. We're on holiday break until then.
Thank you so much. I mean, Merry Christmas. I mean, Happy Thanksgiving. Is it? It's Thanksgiving there, right? But
Oh, wait, last Thursday.
oh, last Thursday. Oh, yeah, it's belated, but it's gonna be Christmas soon. So I hear it's gonna be a celebration also in the States and also around the world. So thank you very much, Kiana, and looking forward to more projects. Congratulations on your achievements, and thank you for doing what you do and doing what you love.
Oh, thank you for asking me
Thank
to do this. Thank you for having me.
thank you, thank you. So that's it, folks, for our vlog. And if you have any inquiries, you can contact www.mariasansampaguitas.wixsite.com. That's Kiana's online magazine. And congratulations to her and her team again for doing this. Making space and uh, celebrating the works of writers of color and everyone. So thank you, Kiana.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Angelo.